Hey, I'm going to start by by apologizing for the fact that this video is coming late and also explain why my voice sounds so gravelly. So I watched this movie again, which would be the second time I've watched it, last Tuesday night. I then became sick on Wednesday and was sick through Sunday, and so my voice is still recovering. Now, I'm not saying that this movie made me sick, but I will say I haven't been sick in like more than a year until this. Take from that what you will. I will also say some scientific evidence suggests that depression actually makes your immune system less functional, and so people who are depressed tend to get more sick. And I'm not saying that this movie upset me so greatly I was experiencing the symptoms of clinical depression and thus got sick. I'm not saying that. So, gonna talk about Jeepers Creepers 3, which is a terrible movie. Now, I'm gonna start this by prefacing it and saying that I know the director / writer is an absolute drag of humanity. I know that he is a terrible person. So I feel sort of okay shitting on this movie. Now, I will say that I do like the first movie, and I like the second one. The first is clearly superior, but the second one is not bad. It's fun. A different vibe from the first. And like, those things are products of multiple people's work. And to throw them in the bin because one person is terrible doesn't seem fair. So, let's start with a little background on the series. Jeepers Creepers was a movie in 2001, I believe. It had Justin Long, and the movie was ostensibly about this sort of humanoid creature named the Creeper. Not in the actual movie, but that's the general term that is used by people who watch the movie. Now, the Creeper is a sort of weird, vaguely animal type thing. It's got wings, and its whole deal is that it smells people through their fear and decides on the parts of those people it would like to consume. Now, from both the first and the second movie, what we understand is that the Creeper consumes specific parts of specific people because that helps it heal. There is some vague supernatural happenings in the first movie. In the first movie, there is the fact that the song Jeepers Creepers is sort of heralding the arrival of the Creeper for our main character, Justin Long. There's also a psychic who essentially sees through the Creeper's eyes and sees what it does. The Creeper itself sleeps for 23 years, and the line is specifically every 23 years for 23 days it gets to eat. And so once every 23 years, the Creeper shows up, mutilates a bunch of people, and then hibernates again. But really, I guess you could say that there are three bits of supernatural. So there is the fact that the Creeper is tied to the song Jeepers Creepers, which is weird since 3 cycles back that song wouldn't have existed, so kind of weird that it picked a song. You've got the crows that hang around the Creeper, which could just be an animal thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be supernatural. You've got the psychic lady from the first movie, which also carries to the second movie with a different psychic lady. And then you've got the fact that the Creeper in the basement of a church in the first movie sort of assembled a replica of the Sistine Chapel out of the corpses of the people it had killed, but not the parts it had eaten, sort of stitched them together. Oddly enough, this is more supernatural simply for the fact that you can't really expect that the Creeper, who has a theoretically storied history in the United States, has ever been to the Sistine Chapel. Now, the creeper drives around an old car with a license plate Be Eating You. Beatngu. The second movie shows that the creeper has a sort of number of weird tools and weapons that it sort of machined out at some point that it uses during its hunting and killing. These are weirdly attracted to it. And that's the extent of the supernatural that we see in the first two movies. So I'm going to do something a little bit different with this video, and I'm going to try it out, and hopefully it works. But I've actually got the movie sort of queued up, and I'm going to pop it in and talk about what's happening as it's happening. So this gentleman on the right, not the one who looks like he's losing his mind, but the older one, is actually the desk sergeant from the first Jeepers Creepers movie. Now, unfortunately for him, it has been 16 years since the first movie, and he aged, although he shouldn't have aged in the movie, and they do a really bad job with his fake hair, as we'll see later on. Now, one thing I will point out is that this movie, despite being the third in the series, is actually situated after the first movie, but before the second movie. So this is a sequel to Jeepers Creepers 1, but a prequel to Jeepers Creepers 2. Now, I'm not normally one to criticize bad acting. I think that it's probably harder than I expect it to be. And generally, so long as it doesn't take me out of the atmosphere of the movie, I'm fine with it. And then there's this.
Oh my God.
So that gentleman is apparently some sort of sheriff, I guess. It's never really fully... No, actually, I think they do call him sheriff. He is hunting the creeper because he knows it's a thing, which is not a very common thing for people to know, although it seems more common now than it was in sort of any of the previous movies. I want you to take a look at this man's deputies. Okay, now theoretically, these people are actual sheriff's deputies. And I'm going to assume this because they are all carrying M16s at an active police investigation. The site that we're at is ostensibly the police precinct from the first movie where the creeper took Justin Long's character. So these leather jacket wearing, baseball cap wearing sheriff's deputies, maybe, are his elite team that will help him catch this monstrosity that has been, eating people since time roughly immemorial. Now, I will note, it does feel bad to me because if you actually look at the people who are these deputies, they're all holding their guns in different ways. Like, they're not consistent, which is really what you expect from this shot in the scene. You do really expect that if they're supposed to be sort of this elite team, they would inspire more confidence upon their first introduction. They don't. Okay, so what you just saw was the beginning of my biggest fucking gripe with this movie. The thing that, okay, second biggest. That fucking truck, which belongs to the creeper, is apparently fucking magic. Not technologically advanced, the damn thing is from maybe the 1930s, but is magic. And we'll see a few more examples of that as we go through. But I want to point out The extent of supernatural we have seen in the series up until now is psychic visions, not on the part of the creeper, and the fact that his, like, implements, the knives he makes out of bones and shit, sort of like to go back to him. They sort of like to head to him if he's nearby. That's it. That's the blatant supernatural shit we've seen up until now. This car was featured in the first movie, but not the second, and there was nothing magic about this car in the first movie. This fucking speed racer ass vehicle, as we will see, is filled with fucking booby traps. Now, I'd love for you to explain to me why that even needs to exist. Explain to me why this truck needs a weird bone harpoon out the back end. And why it can do that. Why the fuck does that make sense?
You think that thing torched that church tonight because it wanted a campfire? It was destroying information, trying to get rid of what it doesn't want us to know. And that truck is that thing's role in history.
Okay, I need to point something out here. Because it's fucking weird. In the first movie, when the creeper burned the church, which, yeah, it did in the first movie, it was mentioned in the second. The assumption on the part of the viewer at that point, this was after a body had been dropped down a chute, and this was witnessed by Darry and his sister. Darry is the character of Justin Long. They went into the church, they saw the bodies, they called the cops. The prevailing theory, the thing that the audience was supposed to sort of understand about it, was that the killer, because again, at this point there was nothing supernatural, the killer was burning evidence. As a serial killer is wont to do, it was getting rid of evidence. Now, that actually was a misdirect because, like, why would the creeper need to get rid of evidence? What are you going to do, put it on trial? It's a weird monster thing. And in this scene, he talks about, oh, it was hiding its history. Okay. I mean, that church couldn't have been any older than, like, the 1930s. So how much, like, history could it have had? Because someone built the church and presumably they used it for a little while prior to the creeper sort of occupying it, because it would be weird if that thing built a church and then did that. I mean, I guess sacrilegious imagery is kind of there. I suppose also doing a perverted Sistine Chapel in a church is also sacrilegious and kind of hits that mark. But again, why would it need to hide evidence? And the truck, up until this point, wasn't like a rolling home base for the damn thing, because it didn't even use it in the second movie. So let's meet the creeper. This is sort of a reference to the iconic shot from the first movie, where he's on top of a moving police car, or the one afterwards where he's eating that person's tongue. Now, what you'll notice here is that the creeper is currently riding on the top of that car. Now, that doesn't look like a Tesla. I could be wrong. I mean, it's probably better looking than a Cybertruck, but that's neither here nor is it there. So that car is just fucking driving on its own, with him standing on top. Full magic ass car. Unexpectedly a magic car. Not usefully at all a fucking magic car. And I don't know why that pisses me off so much, except that it makes no sense for it to have had sort of a magic car. Like 1940s, so it's had it for what, this would be the second or third cycle it's had it. So theoretically, this thing hunted for a long time before that, and at least that's the impression we're given in the first movie. So, like, why the magic car? Is this thing magic on its own? Is it a fucking wizard? Like, explain to me, at what point in its history, at what point in its fucking lineage, was it like, I need a vehicle, and not only do I need a vehicle, I need it to also be magic. Because that's what happened. That's what had to have happened. That, or it came across a magic car in the 40s, which I don't think happens.
You hear that? It's coming back.
So, in the lore of the movies, the creeper can tell whether or not it wants a part of a person by smelling their fear. So what the creeper's going to do here is it comes back to scare the people to figure out if there's something in them it would like to eat. Now, you cannot tell me that it hadn't already scared them. Also, he's only got 23 days, so it does seem like these tactics are sort of a little extra, if we're being honest. It just feels like it's not really the thing. Now, in this movie, we have two sets of main characters. The first being our police officers, the other being a young couple. This is the mother of one of the young people. Now, a little backstory. Apparently, that child's father died last cycle 23 years ago. This is that child's grandmother. Now, I'm gonna let this play for a second. This bitch sees her dead son. This fucking I see dead people ass plot line is essentially there for her to talk to her dead son about now. He's part of the creeper now, since the creeper ate something from him. He's part of it. He's inside him. He can feel him. Like, the big sort of catch from this, which will lead me to the thing I actually am most infuriated by in this movie, is the fact that the creeper lost an arm, lost a hand last cycle. Now, this is not uncommon. We saw in the second movie, the creeper sort of lost its head. We've seen the thing fucked all the way up. And so, like, yeah, it left a hand behind. But they do something with that, which we'll get to.
Know this thing. The team is more than law enforcement. The team are shopkeepers, farmers, anyone who's looked this thing eye to eye and lived to tell about it and wants to do something about it.
They could have just let that man not have fake hair. They honestly could have just let him not have fake hair, and I don't think anyone would have known or noticed.
Davis, hey, you the best goddamn sharpshooter in all Poho County or any other county. You got questions about that too now?
That's their best sharpshooter. That's their best sharpshooter. This man has an entire team of monster hunters who are all on his team because they encountered the thing in the last cycle. And in 23 years, he couldn't get a better sharpshooter? In 23, he couldn't get a better sharpshooter. This guy is not only the best in Poho County, but in any county. We need you to get back in the game. Just one more heist. Just one more heist, and then we're out. Like, fucking really? Listen, I'm not saying a person can't be a good sharpshooter. What I am saying is that if you dedicated 23 years of your life to fighting a monster, you probably got pretty good at shooting. But maybe that's just me.
It scares the hell out of me. A brave man is either scared or he's a goddamn liar.
You're on the team, have a baseball cap.
This is old man's truck.
My man's got a truck with a 50 cal minigun in the back. And it doesn't look terribly well maintained.
It's an old Vulcan cannon. She's amped up to shoot 20mm rounds, 6,000 rounds a minute.
I would just like to point out on this group of people who will be largely inconsequential, broke-ass Josh Hartnett. Timu-ass Josh Hartnett. Couldn't get the real one, apparently. Couldn't. So let's have a look at the truck, which is clearly just painted and not actually old.
What's this thing on the front?
What thing?
This thing I'm peeing on.
It's a cow catcher. They put it on front of trains back in the old days. Who'd put it on a truck? This thing is made up of so many different parts.
It's not. Okay, apparently this truck is...
Kiss my ass, you ugly old bitch! You see that? Thing tried to kill me, nicked my fucking ear.
Okay, listen, it's a magic truck. They don't know that yet. But did it try to kill you? Or did you throw a rock at it and the rock bounced off and hit you? I mean, it will try to kill you, but it didn't in this instance. And that just feels like you're kind of being pissy about the fact that you couldn't break a windshield with a rock. Not that he should feel bad, because apparently this fucking truck is indestructible. But let's watch some of the magic truck shenaniganery. Okay, so it just opens on its own.
That smell is real.
So the truck has booby traps also inside. They're all going to run away. Truck will close its doors magically. Okay, so it loaded a cannon. And it's going to aim a shot. Okay, so however it fired its harpoon.
Just get it the hell out! What do you want us to do? All right, look, it's long enough I can pull it out.
It managed
Just call someone! There's no fucking
to...
here, so shut up about the goddamn phone, all right? Kirk, look at me.
So, managed to spear that dude's leg.
What the fuck do you want us to do?
Right.
You want us to try and pull it out?
Now, that knife, to my understanding, is not hooked or barbed or serrated. There's really no reason why when that knife is in, it can't just be pulled out.
Okay, on three, you ready? Hold him
But,
steady, come on!
but this is what's going to be really silly.
On three, I'm gonna pull like a son of a bitch. You guys ready? 1,
Also, they should probably hold his leg
2,
right? It feels like they would hold his leg there if they wanted to be able to pull the harpoon out. So it's reeling it in, and I don't understand. Again, not hooked, not barbed. Why would that not just, if they hold on to him, why would that not just pull it out? Why would that not be the way that works? Explain to me how this man is getting fishing hooked with a just straight blade. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think a third person was going to help there, honestly. And the creeper's home. Now, here's the thing about the creeper. It was much creepier in the darkness, and this movie spends a lot of time putting it in the broad daylight, which really kills the mystique. See how that fucking spear just flew into his hand? And he has to aim? He's got magic. Also, it can fly. Why does he have to throw it? Like, I'm just very, very concerned about that entire sequence of events. Okay, so in this scene, she has dug up the creeper's missing hand. She's examining it. So it's still sort of alive. And I'm gonna pause that right there real quick. The creeper eats parts of people to replace the parts it loses. That's what it does. It's its whole fucking vibe. We see in the second movie, part of its head gets skewered. It rips its own head off. Like, does some sort of weird ingestion of another head, which doesn't make any sense because it like happens through a wing. It doesn't make any sense. But then he grows a new head. Now, if this man's hand has been chopped off, it apparently still lives? Couldn't he just like sew that shit back on? He's magic. Why would he need to find a person? Also, how are his parts going bad if that fucking hand, which is 23 years disconnected and 23 years old, is fine? Some of this man's liver goes out faster than his hand? Like, what the fuck is that even? But that's not the biggest gripe with this stupid fucking hand. Let's see what that is. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't take my gloves off in this situation. But she's going to. I mean, the weird supernatural aura of this thing is just so ungrounded in anything we've seen prior to this movie, just truly. And there she will take her glove off. Okay, so it's got a grip. I mean, I don't know what she was really expecting there. And you would think that's her lifting it up, but you are in fact wrong. That hand is lifting her off of the ground. So before we continue, that hand is lifting her off the ground. That hand, all on its fucking own, just has sort of the ability to fly and bring a whole ass person with it. So why does the creeper need wings? If his body parts can fly and he can just sort of make instruments move on their own, why does he have actual fucking wings? Like, what are they for? Are they there just for show and the flying actually happens magically? Because that would make sense, because a creature like that shouldn't be able to fly just because the size of the wings isn't large enough for the density of the body. But that's neither here nor is it there. Why the fuck is its hand floating? But So what we just witnessed was her getting a vision of this thing's origin and its past, because apparently touching that particular severed hand gives you visions of the creeper's past. Now, call me crazy, but we saw the creeper grab multiple people in multiple previous installments of this movie. It had hands on, or people had hands on it multiple times, and not once in any of those times did those people fly into a convulsion or a fit from seeing this thing's past. They just didn't. So is that hand magic specifically? Did it just have a magic right hand? Is the rest of it magic? Like, do you have to touch a severed body part in order to fucking see the visions? Or like, what's the deal there? And I think there's a lot of bullshit in that, and I want to be clear. I've said that I like horror movies when they provide sort of a broader world that has a structure of rules around it that you can explore. This is not that. This is the fucking monkey's paw version of that. Because what you have is a bunch of contradictory shit across 3 movies, and you can't really get a sense of what the fuck is actually real or true. Like, things don't make sense. Why would it need to hide its origin? Like, what is there a fucking Bible verse you say and then it dies? Like, I mean, that doesn't seem to make a bunch of sense, but who the fuck knows? Because there are no fucking rules here. And now, I know what you're thinking. Do we get to see this thing's origin? No, we don't. As a matter of fact, another person will get to do that same bullshit with the hand. The sheriff will get to do that same bullshit with the hand. And we won't see that either, but we'll just see him devastated by what he saw. Okay, so this is just our second set of protagonists, which I haven't really shown up till now because the story has been nothing worthwhile. You'll notice by that jump scare, the creeper happens to be where they currently are. And that guy, I don't know where he came from. Okay, he clearly wasn't dropped because he wouldn't have hit the side of the window. Like, they wasn't pushed because they didn't fucking see him or hear him anywhere else. He just fucking appeared. Now, there's the creeper who wants to get someone from under that tanker. And to do that, he just fucking flips the goddamn thing. Apparently didn't like that dude, lets him go. Now, that's a thing the creeper's been consistent on. If it doesn't want anything from you, it usually just lets you fuck off. It doesn't care. Because it can only use certain body parts. So if you don't interfere with it and it doesn't want you in particular, then you're good. And of course, the truck doesn't work when you need it to, because why would that make sense? So what the creeper's doing here is it is trying to smell if there's something in the car it would like. Now, presumably the creeper's not 100% sure which one of them it wants, but it does suspect. So let me get another whiff. And he hops over to the other side. And here's what gets me. So it's wiping off the blood. Presumably so it can smell better through the window? Also, I first want to point out that window is way more clear than it was when he first rubbed his finger on it. But second, how the fuck does wiping a little blood off a spot of the window help you smell better through the glass? Because how smell works is that all of that blood would have smells on it. And removing a little bit of it wouldn't really help because you're sort of in the cloud of the smell. And even more, there's a fucking layer of glass between you and the thing you want to smell. And on the side you're on, it's filled with blood, which is probably pretty pungent to this thing since it smells fear, which implies it smells pheromones, hormones, fucking some biological, biochemical sign of fear. And yet it had to clean off the glass to smell that better from the other side of the glass. Okay, it just yelled so loud that it broke the glass on this car window. Why would it need to do that? Why does that make any sense? That doesn't, like, this thing is somewhat sentient, I think, and yet somehow it's unable or incapable of just sort of breaking it with its fist on its own. I want to point out that the car that Loverboy is in now is tipped on its side. That truck is on its side. Also, I do want to point out that despite the fact that this is set in a time with cell phones, everyone has a car from the 1960s, which seems weird to me. Especially because some of these people own stores or are wealthy, but do have really shitty cars, which is wild. Okay, so now the sheriff is going to see how this thing came to be. Lieutenants / sergeants not chill with that, but what else is new? So you got everybody hold him down. Different vibes than the first time it grabbed a hand. I guess it was just missing touch after 23 long years buried.
Danny! Danny! Look at me, boss!
Also, why is it making a whip sound? I just want to, like, why? Like, I just want to know why on that.
Much bigger it is. How much older?
So we're watching him talk about what he saw vaguely.
It's ancient.
So the car's new. Okay, so we move forward in time. They find the creeper.
Everything ricochets off that truck. Mikey, come in. Mikey, listen to me. That truck is about to be fired off.
Straight at it, Jakey! Go!
Now, I want you to remember that the truck is indestructible
Don't shoot at the guy.
because it's magic. It's indestructible because it's magic. This truck is indestructible because this truck is magic. It's not indestructible because it's a truck. That wouldn't make sense, right? Truck, indestructible because it's magic. So they're gonna shoot it now
Man, and 1,000 others, you ugly motherfucker!
with a 50 cal. And every bullet is gonna ricochet off of this indestructible truck. Now, what you just saw coming at the bottom there, that was a mine that this thing drops. It drops weird explosives. This is the fucking car from Speed Racer. Also, there's no world in which those two survive that. There's no world in which those two survive that. They're dead, right? Except they're fine. So let me ask you a question, because you might be thinking what I'm thinking. Not about the fact that they survived. It's a movie, that shit happens, but they shouldn't have survived. That truck is indestructible because that truck is magic. So, the creeper had to have made that truck magic, right? The creeper's ancient. That truck is from like the 40s to 60s. And like, you don't buy them indestructible off the fucking lot, and a 50 cal would have shredded anything shy of a tank. Seeing as how it's not a tank, we can assume that it should have been shredded. But even the glass was fine. Even the windshield was fine. Which, there's no bulletproof glass that's that bulletproof. And so, that means that the creeper used magic to make his truck indestructible. Why the fuck is the creeper not indestructible then? Why does shit not bounce off of him if he can make a truck magic? Where's the fucking logic there? Does the magic only work on trucks? Because that would be weird, since presumably they didn't have trucks when they had magic. And if it only works on metal, why didn't he just wear some fucking metal gear on him? He's clearly strong enough to flip a fucking trailer, so he would be fine wearing metal. We know he forges shit since he makes all of his own blades. And since he probably made that fucking cow catcher on the truck, which is magic. So why the fuck is he not invincible? Doesn't make any goddamn sense. And it's fucked up. Watch. Okay, so the creeper's lining up his throw. Or not. He just sort of changed the way he was running now, so it's weird, but... Also, this thing looks much less menacing in the daylight. It just generally looks far less menacing in the daylight, which is weird, right? I mean, it's just aura farming at this point. It fucking jumped up really high without its wings, but now it has its wings for no fucking reason. That thing is suspended in air for what seems like 20 minutes. Also, this thing has some sort of weird black smoke blood? Since when the fuck does it have weird black smoke blood? Like, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Look, that's clearly not blood in the air. That's clearly like fucking ash or soot or something, which is not a thing we've ever seen prior to this point, despite the fact the thing's head was fucking stabbed. So that's weird. Okay, so she had been alive in his truck the whole time. Creeper found her, didn't know she was dead. They're in the back of the truck, which is like fucking Mary Poppins' bag. It seems much larger inside than it is outside. Whatever she's got, he's jazzed for it. Now he's getting a knife for some reason. Here's what gets me. We've established that this is a magic truck. This is a sentient magic truck. We've established that, right? Pretty clearly the thing aims, it fucking chooses who it opens for, it fucking drive on its own. Either it's sentient or it's connected to his mind. It's one of the two, but it's either sentient or it's connected to his mind. So, why would it stab him in the head? Why would his own truck, which is sentient and or connected to him telepathically, why would it stab him in the head? I can do you one better. Why is the inside of his truck filled with booby traps? The only reason she and the other guy were in there alive is because he thought they were dead or because he tied them up. Like, so like, why would the inside, like, because if the truck's sentient, it just won't open for them and it's indestructible, so they can't like break a window and get out. So why are there traps inside? Who are those for? Why are they inside? I can understand having them outside the truck. I mean, it doesn't make any sense because, again, most of those traps aren't magical. They're mechanical, but then animated by magic. But then why the fuck are they inside the truck? That doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't have them inside the truck. That's why what you see a lot of times in different movies is that when someone's setting sort of a trap at their house, they always set it on out at a point sort of on the outside of what they're doing. So like on the doors or the windows or like a doormat, something like that, something on the outside, because you don't want to be inside of a place you think is safe and then walk into a booby trap you forgot was there, especially if it can actually kill you, even if you happen to be magically connected to the trap. So what the fuck is happening there? Explain to me. You can't. No one can. Because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay, again. Sentient magic truck. How'd it miss? How'd it miss? Okay, so this is one of the kids. She survived. This is one of the kids getting on the bus that is the setting of the second movie. Which hurts continuity because what you find out is that Like, no one brings up the fucking creeper when it shows up in the second movie. No one knows that. No one knows what that is. This dude fucking encountered the thing multiple times, but doesn't mention it. So what the fuck is that? Right? And now I'll show you how this movie ended. Again, I'm trying to avoid major plot points because it's not worth it. The plot here is dog shit. I'm just trying to pick apart the broken ass remnants of what could have been a movie, but turned out to be something that made me maybe physically ill. Also, if I have to recount the plot, I'm going to stroke out. Someone is now actively discussing the ending of the second movie from The Creeper. Also, none of those newspapers look like real newspapers.
We will not fail, and we will not fear. My name is Trisha Jenner, and this time when it comes, I will destroy the thing that killed my brother. So, come and get me, you son of a bitch.
So first of all, the acting was bad, but again, I try not to harp on that too much. I left many examples out of this movie where I could have said it but didn't. What happened there was Trisha, one of the two protagonists from the first movie, whose brother, Justin Long, Darry, died in the first movie. That's her after this cycle saying, hey, we're going to get it on the next cycle, right? That should have just been the movie. That should have just been the movie. It seems to me like you could have done a lot less damage had that just been the movie. Had you just picked up after the second one to do a third one, but instead you did a mid-quel, I guess? Like none of this is good. I just want to sort of point out that movie is very bad, but it is riddled with inconsistencies throughout, all of which make you fucking lose your mind if you're actually watching and trying to absorb anything, if you've actually seen the first or second movie, or if you even give a fucking shit about generally anything, because again, as soon as you don't even have to pick at the logic of this movie. Like, I'll fully admit there are some movies I love where if you dig enough into the logic, you could start pulling it apart. You don't even have to try on this one. That shit's just right there on the forefront. And so you exist in a world in which, I guess, magic exists, but you only use it sometimes, but it's mostly on like this thing's weapons and its car, but somehow its hand that's disconnected, but that doesn't really matter except that it gives you visions of his past, but touching the thing doesn't, just its severed hand, which it's upset it can't get back, which is weird because it like came back this year to try and get the hand back, but it only did that sort of towards the end of the year, so it was important, but not that important. Like, it was enough to take time out of your once every 23 years you get 23 days to eat. Like, it's not the first thing you're going to do, but it's also not the last thing you're going to do, sort of in the middle. Like, you know, it's on the list, but it doesn't have a high priority. And that's the entire fucking vibe of this movie. It's that no one thought through anything at any point, and somehow it got made. Like, I've given you everything you needed from it in this video. If you want to see if I'm taking anything out of context or if I'm sort of messing with anything, then go ahead. Do. I don't really think it's streaming anywhere except like some of those niche online services, but truly don't do this to yourself. Don't have hope. Not on this. This was not fun. It wasn't enjoyable. I hope you got something out of it. I will say one more thing, because I think it's important that if you watch the movie, you actually understand this. In the first movie and in the second movie, you felt a very palpable fear of the creeper. It was nighttime when you saw any detail on it, and even during the day it was creepy, but you felt like the villain of both movies was the creeper. In this instance, in this third movie, it really does feel like they're just sort of fighting the truck and the creeper happens to be there. Like, they should have just named the movie Beating You or Be Eating You, because that's what the fucking movie was. It was mostly about the truck. I bet you, and I didn't go back and look, and I'm not gonna, but I would bet you that truck had far more screen time than the Creeper by a fucking mile. And you can't say, oh, it was a set piece. No, it was sentient, which makes it a character, which means it was the thing that was doing the most damage in that movie, and that's fucked up. So, take care of yourselves, take care of others, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks for another movie video, which I have not decided what I'll be doing yet. Take care.